Oh, hi. Welcome to Know a Guy Bicycles. Hanging out with the guy series. Hi, I'm Justin. I'm the guy. So we've been working on this bike and I got to a point where at the final home stretch, this one's gonna be kind of a bear because nothing really too bad happened working on this bike. It was just the frame detailing took me a lot longer than I anticipated to get all those scratches out. For the most part, and got it to shine. It cleaned up really well, and it's one of those things that I've been working on bikes for so long, and when I start getting into frame detailing and I can just, see the amazingness of getting rid of all those little scratches and just getting the frame to pop, it's just, I don't know, I just geek out on it. So, it's kind of like one of those things, like, to me, it's a little bit newer in a sense that, kind of make it all polished and nice and shiny and make sure nothing's wrong with the frame or anything. But we're on to the part where we're going to put on bar tape. So I got the cables strung up and adjusted the brakes and the derailleurs, and I double checked, it's actually turning, so it's not going to bind up anywhere. So what do we do when we get to this point? I mean, there's a million videos on this, yes. Is there more than a way of doing it? Absolutely. This is just how I do mine. I figured it'd be a good opportunity just to show what I do. Not necessarily saying that mine's better or worse or otherwise, but hey, I've been doing this for a long time and this is how I do it. And the funny thing is, to me, is I get a lot of my bikes back in the day when we do, well, my parents' time when we had shop. That's what I learned from my dad, and he taught me how to wrap bars, and it's an art, and to get to do it really well took a little bit of practice and so forth. And during that process, we used to provide free tune-ups after the purchase of a bike that we sold, and back in the day, they didn't come pre-wrapped. They were like, you're on your own. A lot more bits we had to install back then. So, and also wrapping bars. So when it comes to it, they seem to hold up. Our technique that we practiced in our shop after riding, they didn't come unraveled or any of that nature. So, and he learned it from some tech guys at some clinic at some point back in the 80s. So, this is nothing new, revolutionary. But first, I like to measure out the little covers here that go over this band, because when you do the bar, it leaves a little gap, and that's why you get these two extra little pieces. Some people like to leave them long and go over. I kind of like to buff them up right up against the side there. So I take the little strips off of that, and nope, not quite ready yet. We got to, I use black electrical tape. This usually seems to work really well for securing the cables, in addition to finalizing the actual wrap, because for me, this is very pliable. You can stretch it, and that's where you get a good clean wrap. So what I'm doing now is securing these cables down so I'm not fighting them as I'm wrapping the bars. So put a piece there, and usually just two pieces, 2 points. It's just to hold it in place. So like that, and not very long strips, just a wrap once around or two. The longer one, if you have a longer cut, put it in the corner because you'll need a little more support to hold that housing down. Then here it's just to hold it in place, like so. So those cables are now out of the way, and you can get little holders to hold that down if you really want to geek out. And you notice that my housing's a little long. I do that on purpose because if somebody puts a longer stem or longer out or higher or a stacker, they may not have to switch out the cables in the housing. So when you switch out stems, if you're going longer or taller, that's something you might have to consider when you're doing that. So then I do the final strips a little bit longer. And we pre-cut these because when you're wrapping, you're committed. I don't know how many times the phone is rung in the shop, middle of wrapping. you know, something's going on, interruptions. But when you start, boy, you're in it. And it's not long. It doesn't take long to do, but it's one of those things I've always got interrupted. So you want to pre-stage this everything as fast as you can, or as good as you can prior to this. And make sure your scissors are in close proximity. So you have the hoods rolled up, got the shifters put on back on. I measured them out so they're about the same position here on the brake. And what I'm trying to do is follow the line here. These can be adjusted up and down, but you want them equally matched and equally even on the center of the bars. So that's what I pre-did when installing those. So this guy, they have a sticky tape, so you pull this off. I like to pull the whole thing off. And attention to details. This has actually SRAM on the actual bar tape, and that, you know, it's one of those things you want to put on so you don't have it upside down one way all the way around. So you want to, you know, level of professionalism, right? So attention to detail. Same thing, attention to details is putting the logo of the tire. This doesn't have a logo on this side. Well, it does, it's on the opposite, but there's a logo on this one, so I decided to do it on the drive side. But anyway, you logo by your valve core or air pressure. So you hold this in place with your teeth. So, you know, you don't drop it or reaching for it. I'm starting with the name so I can read it this way when I'm in the saddle. I do my first wrap. Then I pull this tight, snug, not to a point where it's gonna break or snap, but you want it snug. Then I do about a quarter overlap to half overlap. So I start here with more of a spacing because the majority of the time you're not on your hands down here. You want the extra padding to be up in this area. So that's where I kind of have the overlap a little tighter. And this is a little more lax down here. That way, you know, you get more, this all come in one length. So these bars I'm not gonna have a problem with. I can do it pretty much all the way across. But some bars, when they're wider or bigger, you may run out of tape. So keep proceeding to go this way. So I get right here. Then I put the reason why I have it on my mouth and not put it on here, because the sticky tape on here doesn't hold very well. So I got to hold with my hand as I'm precariously getting this in position exactly how I want it to be. Then I do my crossover. And this is where I make it a little more extra padding, because your hands are on these hoods. And I like to have the wording, you can read it this way while you're sitting in the cockpit, and this up here presents it downwards, SRAM. And sometimes you won't read it because I have such an overlap. And then when you're looking from this side, you're actually reading it this way, so it's not upside down. So it's all about perspective, right? It really, you know, technically doesn't matter in a technical sense, but it's just kind of nice if they match. So if you want the wording to go the other direction, do it the other way. It's like, again, there's 100 different ways to do this. So I get to here and there's a bevel in the bar. I want to find the bevel where I can cut it lengthwise to the angle that I'm going to be laying it down. Scrap. And if I did this right, I will have a nice line right here. And the reason why I cut a little triangle is this triangle goes on the bottom tip. Then I stretch it. First lap. Then I stretch it a little less the second lap, so I'm overlapping, covering more, and I have a little indentation that goes down onto the bar to give you that, you know, clean look. And 3 times, I can actually do it 4 times. and less tension on this electrical tape, but enough to form it down. When I get to here, I cut it so it's going to lay underneath, and then I do my triangle again on the bottom. So there's really no pick point. Then lay down and smooth, like so. So when you're at this point, roll your hood back over. And if you left enough little overlap in on the end here, you can put your in plug and kind of fold it in. Like so. So that's one side. Then I take a little bit of cleaner and clean the hood up. And that's what we have right there. So while we're here, we'll just do another side real quick. Got a couple minutes here. So my lettering is this way. So and you start like that. Okay, so there's tape. Good. Start at the bottom. Have a little extra overlap at the end of the bar, and that's where I get the don't be ashamed, you have to do it a couple times because, man, it takes years to get this good. And I'm not even saying I'm that great. I'm just better than most. And I don't do it perfect every time, so it seems I'll get one more wrap underneath there just to give it one more padding. That rolls up and over. And you angle it as you go around the bar here. So when you're wrapping, you want to double check your brakes again, because sometimes when you compress that bar down, it changes the cable length, tightens the brakes. So, usually not, but once in a while it does. You're like, why is the brakes not working? So I find a point where I want to angle that, right? So I take, and I know I'm going to cut there, so get this little thing out of the way. So I'm not fighting with that. So line it up, and you're going to do that angle, so try to do a clean line like so. And that follows, so this still follows the same trend, but when you're get it on there. It's like so. This is where, if I let go of this, it's gonna unravel. That's why I was talking about it always get interrupted. Why are you doing this up? There we go. So, really tight, but not as tight. Less tight, but still concaving and conforming around the tape, bar tape. When you get to this point, cut it where it's gonna lie underneath. This will shrink up a little bit. Give it that pyramid tip and fold it underneath. You got a little sticky stuff on your fingers off. And put your hoods back down so it's nice and clean. You want it tight, there you go. And this is actually reflective. Reflective ones are great because, you know, you get caught in dust or whatever. Helps you be seen. And the ones that come with the manufacturing, I just set them aside for other things. I don't use them. They're not long enough or what have you to do what I wanted to do. Some are stamped with, you know, Chicelli or Bonchegger or whatever. Then you put the electric first, then you wrap that on top of that. Those didn't have any stamping, so I don't put them on there. So, and I clean it up like so. One last bit that I like to do, it's kind of a shameless little plug, and this was actually a mistake. I ordered these, and these are my frame stickers. They came in too small. It's like, oh. And I ordered them again, got them too big. And then I finally ordered them again. I got them just right. But the small ones, I found out, are perfect for little frame savers. And it also advertises at the same time. Because when I bought these, I bought like 1,000 of them. I was like, what do I do with all these things? So there's housing. And you can see this, like a little bit of a scarring there already from the old. So you put that in there. Protects that. Do it on the other side. And that's why you'll see on my bikes, why are these white dots on there? Well, they're really just to protect the frame. This dirt gets in here and just rubs up and it just tears it up, that kind of thing. So that's bar tape. So if you like what you're seeing, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, my Facebook page, go to my website, throw your email down for newsletters, and showing promotions of first listed and so forth, a product and so forth. And shameless plug. Well, thank you for spending some time with me, and no pun intended, that's a wrap.